Greetings everyone here, George, DMZ Tactical. This series here we're going to be doing, it's going to be a three-part series. It's a seminar I did just this last weekend on combat mindset, a survival attitude. And I wanted to bring it to you guys. It is about an hour long, so I am going to split it up into, I believe, about three 20-minute sessions. And then I'll post it up there, and then as your time permits, go ahead and spend 20 minutes of your time. It really is good information, and it covers something that a lot of people don't really spend the time researching or practicing or getting set for. And it's really key that you spend some time and really look into yourself and into your mindset and see if it is a survival attitude. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started. I am DMZ Tactical. DMZTactical.com is our website, or Facebook.com/DMZ Tactical. If you've never been to any of our events, we do all type of technical training and all that fun stuff. So we're actually working on a curriculum for this year. And not just doing firearms training as a whole, but doing more of a warrior survival mindset, some certain key essential fundamentals that as you should have in your skill sets to be able to survive any type of situation, whether it be man-made or natural disaster or active shooter situation, home invasion, those kind of things. So please look us up, DMZTactical.com, and give us a call if you require any further information. The reality is that the fact of the matter is that most people are complacent in their level of security in this insecure world. What I mean by that is most people get into this mindset that, oh, nothing bad will ever happen to me. I live in a good neighborhood. There's no break-ins in my neighborhood. My mall is the safest mall in the country. My kids will never happen. That'll never happen to my kids. No one's ever going to go to their school and start doing some mass killings. Most people do that because it's the path of least resistance. They live in a fantasy land. And why do they do that? Because most people simply aren't built to successfully deal with issues of survivability. I would say 80 to 90% of the people in this world aren't built to be able to survive or take care of themselves in a disaster situation. It's something you can train for and get better at, but naturally most people aren't built that way. And what they do is they convince themselves that it won't happen to them, so it's easier to ignore. We actually live in a world where it's very dangerous, and it's actually dangerous situations are becoming more common. As you probably already know, random shootings, terrorist threats, natural disasters. We joke around a lot about the zombie apocalypse just for fun, so I just threw it in there, see if you guys are paying attention. But I personally don't think the world is ending next month, but I also think we do live in a dangerous world, and I do think that at any one point, I myself can be in danger, and I might have to use these skill sets that I've worked on for survivability. But if you think all is fine and dandy in society and you think nothing bad can happen to you, then this seminar is probably a waste of your time. I suggest you go spend your 20 minutes that you're going to be watching this part of the seminar and go watch maybe the Kardashians or whatever you do in your time, because this is definitely not for you if you really think you're fine and dandy and nothing's going to happen to you. So with that said, let's talk about the question of self-defense. A lot of people have made the decision to defend themselves if the need arises. Some people haven't. Some people are still in the mindset that they should be victims because somewhere or the other, either law enforcement or another person or maybe their family member or whatever the case may be is going to come out and save them. They don't want to save themselves. But you can't help those people. You can only help people who want to help themselves. So once we get rid of that mentality, we ask yourself, if you really want to defend yourself, you really have to ask yourself a basic question. Most people don't ever ask themselves this question when they do make the decision to effectively defend themselves. What they mostly do is say, okay, I'm going to go defend myself. I'm going to go buy a firearm. So they go out and they get their concealed carry permit. They go out, check out firearms. They buy it. They wait the wearing period. They go pick it up. they go pick up ammo and they go try at the range a little bit. Once they're hitting paper and they feel comfortable, now they're done. They've built that false sense of security, but they've never really asked themselves this question. As a last resort, are you willing to take the life of another human being if they pose a deadly threat in defense of your own or a loved one? And that's really a hard question to ask to just anyone out there. You really have to think about it, and think about it in the privacy of your own home. It is reality, and it's something most people don't talk about. So you really have to be honest with yourself and say, am I really willing to do that? And if you make the conscious decision, you can make whatever decision you want, whether you can or you can't. Everyone has to live by their own convictions. But if you're not willing to take another human being's life as a last resort because your life or the life of your loved one's in danger, then there is no reason you should have a handgun or a firearm for self-defense. There just isn't, because all you're doing is arming whatever threat is coming at you. So, for example, you're in a situation where you're having a home invasion. The home invader comes in with a bat. And maybe the worst case scenario that could have happened to you was you would have got a beating with a bat, maybe a couple broken ribs, a concussion, whatever the case may be. You survived. Take a different scenario, same scenario, comes in with a bat, you pull out a gun knowing you're not willing to use it even as a last resort. That threat or that attacker will see that, and basically he will take your gun away from you and then he'll kill you with it. So before, you would have just suffered some wounds and survived. Now you're dead because you armed your own threat with a gun you weren't willing to use. You brought a gun into an environment where you weren't willing to use it. So, you really have to ask yourself that question before you even get into the whole question of should I have a firearm, should I not have a firearm, whatever the case may be. So something people don't talk about, but you really need to be aware of it, and you really need to be truthful and honest to yourself. You don't have to go by what I would do or what your neighbor would do. You would be in that situation, so you have to answer that for yourself. Certain keys I believe that are key, or skill sets that are key to survivability. Mindset is really on top of the list. If you don't have the mindset to survive, you will not survive. If you do survive, it's because you got lucky. And I don't really want to trust my life to me being lucky. Other skill sets are will, preparation, training, and adaptability. These are all the kind of things that really make a well-rounded warrior, if you will, and gives you the best chances of survivability. For the purposes of this seminar, we'll only be talking about mindset, maybe just a little bit of will, but there's a lot more involved than just having a proper mindset. But that is definitely the key, the foundation, the core fundamentals and essentials of survivability. What is combat mindset? Basically, if you really look at the body, what I personally think is the strongest muscle in the human body is the brain. Yeah, I know some of you guys might say, oh, the brain's not a muscle, it's an organ. Well, I think differently. I think of an organ like my liver, my kidneys. I can't really work them out and make them stronger, make them faster, make them smarter. I can do that to my brain just like I can do that to my biceps or my triceps. If I work out my biceps really hard, they're going to get bigger and they're going to get stronger. My brain is the same way. If I work my brain out, let's say, just for example, on multiplication tables, if I start working on them and I start practicing, my brain gets actually faster and is able to compute, make those computational mathematic easier for me to be able to say 7 times 7 is 49, 3 times 2 is 6, those kind of things. So I definitely think that the brain is actually a muscle that you can actually work out and train and make better and more efficient. Why is combat mindset so important? Because if your mind is not in the fight, you are already dead. If you have to think of what you would do in a situation when it's happening, chances are you're going to freeze. Time is life in a life-threatening situation. In survivability, time is life. That's the least you have. So you have to be able to make quick decisions and be able to identify key certain things so you can react to them properly so you can survive. If your mind is not in the fight, you're already dead. Mental strength. As with any muscle group, like we talked about the brain, you have to train your mind to survive. Mental strength is about making the conscious decision never to quit. That's the first part. And that's the easy part for everyone. Everyone says, oh, yeah, I'll make the conscious decision never to quit. If my kid's, getting hurt or someone has them and they're going to create harm to him, I'm never going to quit. Yeah, that's fine and dandy. It's easy to say, but it's the second part that most people never do, and really what matters, because you can talk all the talk you want, but if you're not willing to walk the walk, you're pretty much don't have the mental strength to do it. The second part of this is obviously making the conscious decision to never quit, but also taking the proper steps to condition your mind to be able to follow through. So in the first scenario, yeah, everyone says, "Oh, I'll never quit if my kid is in danger," but you never took the proper steps to be able to follow through. So in an active shooter situation, if your kid's in danger, maybe he's being held hostage, and you're 2 feet away from him, you don't know what to do because you never took the proper steps to figure out, how do I resolve this in a manner that I have and my kid has the greatest survivability rate. That's how you condition your mind and you build that mental strength. It's about exercising your mind and preconditioning it into a purposely manufactured, what I call deja vu of sorts, of emergency situations. Think of it as a rehearsal of life saving techniques. What I mean by that is rehearsing home invasions, carjackings, fires, active shooter situations, terrorist attacks. By rehearsing those and practicing drills, you're able to, in a real life situation, you're able to make up your mind instantly and say, I know the basis of this situation. I know what I need to do to survive this situation. I'm going to do A, B, C, and D, and you start reacting instantly, therefore being able to get a leg up on your attacker or your threat or the disaster, whatever the case may be. This is not just about active shootings. It's about fires. It's about hurricanes. It's about floods. Um, if you've never experienced those situations or practiced them, you're gonna be like confused. You're gonna be running around with your chicken like a chicken with their head cut off. That's why we practice these things and we rehearse them. Think of a fire drill. Uh, when we were in school, younger, we would practice fire drills all the time. Why? Because if we ever had a fire, we wouldn't be running around wondering what to do. We built that. We conditioned our brains to, when we hear that fire drill bell, that we would do the proper steps, get down low, get down to the hallway, get down out the emergency exit, and then we're all going to meet up in the playground. How do we know how to do that? How do I still remember those were the steps? Because we did it so much, we conditioned them. So if I ever had to do that, I don't have to think about it. I just react, and I react accordingly to my previous preconditioning or deja vu of sorts, if you will. At some point, having that mental strength, at some point under duress or in a disaster condition or situation, you're going to have to make the conscious decision to change the outcome of the situation for the better. Only you can do that, and this is what I talk about, and we get into warrior mode, and it's a last resort in case of emergency, break glass type mode. It's a switch you turn on. Everyone has a warrior mode. Some people just aren't willing to use it, or by the time they're willing to use it, it's really too late. Um, it it's not anything you would pull out on a daily basis, but you need to figure out what turns on your warrior mode. Maybe if you have a newborn baby, that's your warrior switch. Maybe if your newborn baby's in danger, that turns it on. Maybe if your wife is in danger, that turns it on. Or maybe if you're in danger, whatever triggers that, get angry, get aggressive, do anything possible to survive mode, whatever it is, you need to find it so you're able to identify it and be able to turn it on when a disaster type situation happens. That's what I call being a warrior and being unstoppable. As a warrior, when you turn that switch on, your goal is to be faster, stronger, deadlier than your threat. You're not worried, at that point, you're not worried about anything else other than survivability of yourself and your loved ones, whoever is in that situation. By creating that warrior within you, you're going to nullify any advantage your threat has and give you the upper hand at survivability. Remember, you don't have to be the fastest gunman in the world. You don't have to be the fastest runner in the world. You don't have to be the best MMA fighter in the world. You just have to be better and faster and stronger and deadlier than the threat that is upon you. That's all you have to do. And by creating this warrior in you and by all the practice and preconditioning, you'll be able to survive that if done properly. Let's get into talking about duress and disaster conditioning. And as I mentioned before, being able to survive different situations is to be able to identify them and have a deja vu of sorts. How do you do that? And that's where we get into disaster and duress conditioning. Basically, you're training for things that can happen in your lifestyle. If I don't live on the West Coast and it's highly unlikely I'm going to have an earthquake, that's probably not my priority to condition my brain for. But if I live in an area where there's a lot of home invasions, maybe I want to practice home invasions. Maybe there's hurricanes in my area, whatever the case may be. The more you can condition your mind to these disasters or duresses, you're able to once again pull out that skill set when you do need it. How do you condition your mind? Well, you think of it happening, you visualize it happening, you feel it happening, and then you play it out. And playing it out means practice, doing drills, just like those fire drills we did in school. Maybe in your home, practice fire drills at home, or practice home invasion drills at home. Get your family involved and make sure that everyone understands their duties in when something does happen, what they have to do. All it takes is one person not doing their job, and it puts that onus on everyone else to be able to survive. So you have to build that mindset within your lifestyle and your loved one's lifestyle that everyone has to pitch in. Once you have all that information and you've played it out and you've visualized it and you think of it happening, and not just one way, do it 5 different ways. If someone breaks in the front door, how about if someone breaks in the back door? How about if someone breaks in through the garage? Those are all kind of things that you practice and you figure out what the best scenario is. Once you have all that information, you would take it and you would store it in a toolbox of disaster skill sets that I call. It's somewhere in your brain housing group that you're going to store all these skill sets in there. And whenever you do need them, when the time arises, hopefully you'll never will, but if you ever do need them, your mind is going to be able to get in there and process that instantly. I mean, your mind is so quick, you're going to be able to have that deja vu of, oh, shoot, this happened. We practiced this before. This is an active shooter situation at the mall. Bam, you get into your mindset. You get into that warrior mode, and then you make A, B, C, and D steps fast enough to be able to survive that situation. The more you do this, the more you're going to be able to automatically apply the proper skill set, and you're going to be able to problem solve and ultimately survive the situation. Disaster situations are all about being able to problem solve quickly and efficiently and faster than your threat or your enemy. That's what it's all about. You don't ever want to get stuck in a position where it's unknown. And that's the problem people get into. The more you can precondition your mind to identify a home invasion happening, the better you're going to be at surviving it. Most people are afraid of the unknown. So by practicing these things and visualizing them, you're going to catch yourself that you're not gonna be that person that is a deer in headlights frozen when something does happen. Actually, you know what? We're just going to leave this alone for now. And then in part 2, we're going to go ahead and start talking about situational awareness. So one other thing I wanted to tell you guys before I finish is we've been working on a set of training modules to promote a warrior mindset and lifestyle. Adapting and overcoming are key survival skills that basically most warriors need. The warrior is a well-rounded individual, not just having great firearm skills or not just having force-on-force training or edge weapons defense. It's a bunch of different essential key skill sets that we need for survivability. Some of the things we'll be doing in this in this set of training modules is obviously mindset, field craft, land nav, fire manipulation, bug out preparation, tactical first aid, which is something a lot of people don't think about. Seer, survival, evasion, resistance, and escape. Urban seer, self-defense, edge weapons defense, and force on force. So this is something we're going to be bringing to all our students out here probably within the next month. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Look out for part 2 of this, and we'll get into situational awareness and cover a bunch of other stuff. So again, I appreciate your time. Semper Fi, and we'll see you on the other side.